Emergency! Everybody to get from street!
Well, here's something you don't see or hear very often. Former Air Force officers held a press conference today in Washington, D.C. Over 120 retired military personnel warn of a quote-unquote ongoing and alarming intervention by unidentified, get this, aerial objects at nuclear weapons sites. Well, who else but RT Cedric Moon was there, and he brings us the story.
Perhaps few things say normal or routine more than a daily dose of coffee, a cup of calm in what can on any day be out of the ordinary. Out of the ordinary, like a nuclear holocaust out of the ordinary. Let's say there's an attack from where doesn't matter. It could be North Korea, Iran, Pakistan. If that were to happen, nuclear payback wouldn't happen. That's a claim made by the men in this room.
Our missiles began going into what's called a no-go condition or unlaunchable. Essentially, they were disabled.
Detailed in this report, full of court-sanctioned sworn affidavits.
The witnesses have described these craft as disc-shaped or cylindrical-shaped or spherical.
If you think what's being said inside this building is completely ridiculous, you might want to consider something.
My name's Robert Hastings. Thank you for coming.
These are men who might know what may have gone on. They're former Air Force missile launch officers, missile base officers, who say UFO spaceships, flying saucers, make nuclear weapon systems go haywire.
In 1966, according to a launch officer, David Schur, his missiles were temporarily activated just as his security guard was reporting a bright object moving from missile to missile to missile.
10, 9, 8.
And it's not just in the United States. Also,
4, 3,
in Russia.
2, 1.
Like a 1982 incident that happened in then-Soviet Ukraine.
Given the fact that these incidents have gone on over there, including one incident of their missiles being temporarily activated when a UFO was hovering above the missile base, identical to what occurred here, I think we can rule out that whoever are piloting these craft are either American or Russian.
Maybe they're right. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe there's no way to ever know. But if they are right, and an out-of-the-ordinary day is about to unfold, remember the saucers. Cedric Moon, RT, Washington, D.C.
And Cedric joins me now for more in the studio. So my first question is, when am I going to get a great cup of coffee from you? Because you seem so skilled in making one.
Well, I could tell you, Dina, that about a block from here, there's a Starbucks that sits right on the corner. They make wonderful coffee over there.
I've never heard of it, but I guess I'll have to check it out sometime.
Keep that in mind, Starbucks.
I will. So Cedric, okay, so first of all, these gentlemen that we saw on the panel say that they were ordered by the government not to reveal what they had known. What would be the motive behind that?
Well, that's what they want to know. They can't answer that question. I mean, that's what they've said the entire time through the panel discussion. You know, we've been told to be silent about this for X number of years. Why we were told to be silent, we don't know. That's exactly why we are now calling on the government to tell us at this point, among many other things, why we were told to essentially shut up.
You know, there was this underlying question, though, why they thought that whatever they saw wasn't a foreign government or foreign influence, why it was sort of extraterrestrial activities.
Well, they describe a lot of the movements of some of these spacecraft as something that's a little bit too, I guess, too nimble for conventional aircraft. They also say that the fact that this is happening not just here in the United States, but in the former Soviet Union, also in other countries, through several decades, it's like, well, why would we, if it's happening all over the place, why would we start blaming each other for something like this to be happening?
Any idea why these visitors would be so interested in either the nuclear arsenals of the United States or even of Russia? Why concentrate on the nukes?
Well, according to the report, it says that they seem to say, the people on the panel today, that aliens are concerned about humankind killing each other, killing itself with these weapons of mass destruction. And so ever since the inception of nuclear weapons, they have monitored all the happenings and all the building up and all the creation of this kind of weapons. But then I think, to make this come full circle, I think they're really here for the Starbucks, like we pointed out earlier.
Well, or maybe the aliens could convince the Senate to finally ratify the START treaty. So, you know.
Well, the aliens are all for the START treaty.
They must be if they're concerned about, you know, nuclear weapons killing everyone.
April was a wonderful month for them.
R.G. Cedric Moon, thanks so much.
Emergency! Everybody to get from street!
Seen this movie?
United States Marine Corps. I'm sorry, Captain. This is a restricted area. I can't let you pass without clearance. Okay. Come here. You want to see my clearance? Maybe I'll just leave this here with you. Let him pass. Let him pass.
Will Smith, Independence Day, a movie about aliens invading Earth. But now the United Nations is getting ready for a contact with aliens from outer space. This is Moslin Othman. She's out of Malaysia. She will be planet Earth's first interstellar diplomat. And Michio Kaku is a theoretical physics professor, also host of the Science Channel series, Sci-Fi Science Physics of the Impossible, which is doing great, by the way. How are you doing, by the way?
Very good.
Nice to see you, Michio. And I don't know, is this a goofy idea? Is this a serious idea? What in the world is the UN doing involved in this?
Well, don't expect flying saucers to land on the White House lawn anytime soon, announcing, "Take me to your leader." It sounds like a goofball idea, but here's the rationale. Sometime later this year, maybe early next year, astronomers will announce that we have discovered Earth-like twins in outer space. And when we gaze out the night sky, somebody may be gazing back at us. But it's not going to be a two-way conversation. It's not like E.T. phone home. It's going to be a one-way conversation, eavesdropping on aliens from outer space, perhaps.
So even if we were able to send a signal, how would we communicate?
That's exactly right. If you have a message in a bottle in the ocean, you can't communicate back to the people sending the message in a bottle, right?
Which makes it seem all kind of strange and goofy. I can understand if you came up with the idea. I can understand if NASA came up with the idea. But what about the United Nations?
I think they want to stake a claim because right now there are no protocols. There's no way to address an alien ambassador. There's no way to set up how trade would be, what communications and information would be exchanged. So I think they want to put a stake in the ground and say, we claim this in the name of the United Nations.
Now I know there are others who believe in life in outer space, and they believe perhaps they've even touched down here on planet Earth already. Mm-hmm. But the point that you make about these satellites in the coming year, the Kepler and is it the Kherat satellite?
Yeah, the Kherat satellite.
They're looking deep into space, right?
That's right.
They might be able to find signs of life.
That's right.
But the signs of life would be they'd be microbes, right? They
Probably.
wouldn't have Michios walking around up there.
No. So far we have found 500 giant planets in outer space, but none of them are Earth-like. And that's where the Kepler, a U.S. satellite, and Kherat, a French satellite, are the wild cards. Sometime later this year or next year, we expect them to announce. Astronomers will announce that we found it. The Holy Grail, an Earth-like twin in outer space. But that doesn't mean they have Fox News. That doesn't mean they have TV, radio.
Or the Science Channel, right? Now, do you know Moslin Othman, the woman out of Malaysia? Have you heard of her before?
No, I've never heard of her. It's the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs, a very obscure agency of the UN.
Right. Very obscure, I would say. Well, we've tried this before. Was it 1977? We sent a message to outer space and...
On the Pioneer, the Voyager.
That got us nowhere, did it?
Right. And first, I think it's premature for us to announce our presence in outer space until we know their intentions, right? I mean, they may view us as lunch, in which case maybe it's a good idea to keep ourselves a little bit obscure
and
for a while.
And as someone said, if they're looking for intelligent life, they don't want to start the United Nations. That was what they said, anyway. Michio, thank you. We'll see how the department does, and who knows, maybe they'll give us an interview. And so when that alien touches down and watches your program, by gosh, you can give him the signal.
Okay.
Thank you, Michio.
Emergency! Everybody to get from street!
An incredible story coming out of the Vatican. Listen to this. The senior Vatican scientist said that he would be delighted if we encountered intelligent aliens and would be happy to baptize them. His pronouncement opens up the possibility of space missionaries heading out to the stars to convert aliens to Christianity. We're going to talk with a couple guests in a moment about this story. First, though, Richard Hoagland from the EnterpriseMission.com. Richard, what does this all mean?
Well, you know, the drip, drip, drip is becoming a splash, splash, splash. This is obviously planned run-up to disclosure. I mean, there's no other way to account for this. This guy is the Pope's chief astronomer. He is in charge of the Pope's meteorite collection back in Rome. I didn't know the Pope had a meteorite collection.
He must have a good one.
And he's speaking tomorrow at the British Science Festival in Birmingham, but he's just down the street when the Pope coincidentally happens to be in London when he makes this series of major pronouncements officially. This is not like, Cardinal Balducci. This is official, on-the-record Vatican policy. Remember when they said that the aliens or ETs would be our brothers and sisters?
This was the same guy who said that.
It's drip, drip at an increasing pace. Now, in a few days at the Stephen Greer's Transformation Conference down in Arizona, I'm going to be presenting some extraordinary new data on how all this fits into a disclosure paradigm that is racing at us at Warp 9, at his Rio Rico conference. And all I can say is that there's going to be an accelerating cascade of these events, not only from the Vatican. I mean, the Pope is in London to, brief her on the Vatican's perspectives on extraterrestrials? And you're going to see things coming from our administration. There's a lot of clues that we're getting closer to some kind of official movement this fall. Remember, there's this big conference, the ESA conference going on in Rome beginning next week, where the Phobos data is supposed to finally come out that we've been talking about for months and months and months. So, no, I'm not surprised, and I'm looking forward to what your guests have to say, and all I can say is the big news here is not that the church is saying we would baptize aliens. I mean, give me a break. It's the legitimization of the conversation that aliens exist, George, and regardless of whether there are fake plans afoot, the false flag, or it's the real deal, it's irrelevant because there's enough data on the public record now, our work, Stephen's work, a lot of other work, that regardless of politically where this is tried to be bent, to be manipulated, the truth will come out as soon as the idea of aliens is legitimized, and that's why this story is of major import tonight.
Emergency, everybody to get from street. Emergency, everybody to get from street. Хорошо, подойдите все вместе. Emergency, everybody to get from street. Нет. Emergency. 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 Belявин, молчи.